From the headquarters of Telesur English in Quito, Ecuador, I am Stefania Bravo, and this is From the South. President Trump has once again threatened to close the U.S. border with Mexico. Trump says he'll do so next week if Mexico does not halt illegal immigration. It's unclear whether the action would apply to commercial and air travel. Mexico's Foreign Minister Marcelo Ebrard fired back on Twitter saying, quote, "Mexico does not act on the basis of threats. We're a great neighbor. If not, tell the 1.5 million Americans who choose our country as home, the largest community of that origin outside the U.S. For them, we are also the best neighbor they could have." And after Trump criticized Mexico for not taking action to stop migrants from arriving to the U.S., the Mexican president replied, saying Mexico's policies are meant to help migrants.
We, of course, respect President Trump's position, but we are going to help. We are not going to say that this is a U.S. problem or a problem of Central American countries, or that it doesn't apply to us, Mexicans. No, we're going to help, but everything will be done willingly, not by force, so that migrants see they have options available in our country.
At the same time, Washington is again warning Russia about sending troops and military equipment to Venezuela. U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has apparently been giving a list of options to respond to Russia's growing presence in Venezuela, including new sanctions. And Donald Trump's National Security Advisor John Bolton says the U.S. will, quote, consider such provocative actions as a direct threat to international peace. Venezuelan Foreign Minister Jorge Arreaza responded on Twitter saying, quote, "John Bolton's job should be to ensure the security of the U.S., but it seems that someone pays him more for interfering unsuccessfully in Venezuelan internal affairs, with his ancient discourse combining elements of Cold War and the Monroe Doctrine." Arreaza goes on to say, quote, "Although it seems incredible from Venezuela, we must remind almost daily several Western governments that they must respect international law, as well as the principles and purposes of the Charter of the UN, including respect for the internal affairs of other countries." Meanwhile, Russia has opened a new helicopter pilot training center in Venezuela. That's according to RT, which cited Russian state arms exporter Rosoboronexport. Venezuelan pilots will be trained on 3 types of helicopters for national security and humanitarian operations. Russia says it's committed to deepening its partnership with Venezuelan military. During an exclusive interview with Telesur, the mayor of Caracas said that peace in the country has been ensured after the second terrorist attack against the country's electrical system.
This attack had the goal of creating violence and breaking down harmony and peace in our country. As our president says, peace has to be achieved on the streets. And we have been active across the territory, deploying security and working closely with social organizations to safeguard peace.
Mayor Erika Farias has also explained why opposition figure Juan Guaidó was barred from holding public office for 15 years.
Guaidó is clearly receiving funds from somewhere, and he is not declaring where they come from or how much he gets. That is a crime. That is why our controller sanctioned him, and he was barred from holding any public office for 15 years.
Medicine from China has arrived in Venezuela. Caracas received the first shipment of medical supplies and medicine from China as part of an agreement between the two countries. As he received the delivery, Venezuelan Minister of Industries, Tarek El-Aissami, denounced the blocking of billions of dollars by the U.S. that it would help the Venezuelan people purchase medicine for its people. The 24th meeting of the Association of Caribbean States is continuing in Managua, Nicaragua. One of the main goals of this meeting is creating a solid strategy to combat climate change. Let's take a look.
The inauguration for the second day of the ACS summit was done by General Secretary of the ACS, June Somer, and the Nicaraguan Foreign Vice Minister, who said this organization is capable of increasing the number of economic and social projects in the region.
We have recommended adopting the triennial plan of the ACS, which would set a way forward for the organization on the next few years. We need to carry out the main duties of the organization, which include risk reduction, sustainable tourism, transportation, commerce, and this year we have also agreed to revitalize, strengthen and promote culture and education across the Caribbean.
Meanwhile, the Secretary General of the Bolivarian Alliance for the People of Our Americas says he considers unity to be of the utmost importance to address issues created by capitalism.
We are discussing climate change, which is a global issue directly linked to this economic model, which is highly irrational and affects every single person in the world.
And Barbados is set to take the temporary presidency of the ACS. The Barbadian Foreign Minister Jerome Walcott promised he would work hard to accomplish the organization's goals for the 2019-2021 period.
I want everyone to remember Article 3 of our association. Those words, deliberation, cooperation, and focused action. This will be our motto once Barbados takes the presidency of the ACS, to make sure that we are doing this for the people, for our people. We are here to work restlessly.
A meeting of the heads of states takes place on Friday. 25 member nations, 9 associate members, 6 international organizations, and 17 representatives from countries observing the meeting are present.
At the same time, Israel has amassed soldiers and tanks on the border. And on Thursday, Israel's Prime Minister said he was prepared to wage a military campaign on Gaza if needed. Palestinians celebrate March 30th as Land Day. It was on that day in 1976 that Israeli police shot and killed 6 Palestinians for protesting against the Israeli government's occupation of Palestinian land. At least 195 Palestinians have died during these protests over the past year, according to the UN. And ahead of Saturday's demonstrations, the UN's top humanitarian official in the occupied Palestinian territories, through a spokesperson, has called for calm.
Nearly 29,000 Palestinians have been injured, including over 7,000 people by live ammunition. 3 clearly marked health workers providing care to the wounded during demonstrations have been killed, and over 630 others injured. As a result of the demonstrations, 1 member of the Israeli security forces was killed and 6 others have been injured. The many Palestinian casualties, including trauma injuries and more than 120 limb amputations, has overwhelmed the Gaza health system, which was already challenged by chronic power outages, shortages of essential medicines and supplies, and gaps in critical services, including mental health and psychosocial support.
The OCHA spokesperson also highlighted the number of Palestinians who have been injured during the year of protest.
I would say a stark reminder to everyone involved in this that the protection of lives, not least of children, must be at the top of everyone's agenda during what we expect would be big demonstrations tomorrow.
Jordanians have taken to the streets of Amman to mark Land Day and express solidarity with residents in Gaza. Demonstrators responded to calls made by social movements in Jordan to demonstrate following the end of Friday prayer. Participants waved Jordanian and Palestinian flags and shouted slogans in support of Palestinians.
We, Palestinians and Jordanians, are one people and we have the same case. Today we say clearly we support the right of a return for a Palestinian nation who are in areas where they were displaced to. We are today demonstrating in solidarity with the return of demonstrations that will be held tomorrow in Gaza, in its first anniversary.
We'll take a short break now. Join us again in a minute. Welcome back. Same-sex marriage is now legal in the Cayman Islands. In a landmark judgment by the Grand Court, Chief Justice Anthony Smelly ruled that the definition of marriage of being between a man and a woman was unconstitutional. He said he ordered the law to be changed to allow same-sex couples to get married. The laws governing same-sex marriage in the Cayman Islands were challenged by Charlotte Dye and her partner Vicky Boden Bush. On May 10th, the Caribbean Court of Justice will be hearing the matter of the no-confidence motion against Guyana's government. This was decided during a case management meeting held at the CCJ on Friday. Opposition leader Varda filed the matter at the courts after Guyana's appeal court overturned the no-confidence motion that was passed in the parliament on December 21st. Jagdeo is looking to Guyana's highest court to reverse the ruling and revalidate the motion.
To be carried out.
Caribbean governments might find it hard to borrow from commercial banks if their debt to GDP ratio exceeds 140%. That's according to Republic Financial Holdings Limited Chairman Ronald Harford. He said financial institutions were told that they weren't serious about retrieving all their money if they continued in this vein. Harford made the comment during a panel discussion at the Domestic Financial Institutions Conference in Barbados on Thursday, saying financial institutions received a very strong and brutal lesson during talks in the debt restructuring program and would need to be wiser going forward. Venezuelan migrants are raising concerns about the treatment they are receiving by immigrant officials and police in Trinidad and Tobago. Activist Yesenia Gonzalez claims there are some rough officers who are responsible for trafficking and assaulting Venezuelan women. In response, to National Security Minister Stuart Young urged any migrant who was falling victim of abuse to contact police. Gun offenders may soon face stronger penalties in the aftermath of a spate of shootings in Trinidad and Tobago. There are over 8,000 illegal firearms on the Twin Island, and that's a conservative figure.
I am intending to bring legislation or a policy to Cabinet asking them to agree to the increase in fines, penalties, sentences for repeat firearm offenders. So that is one way that I intend to deal with it. Again, that will be subject to Cabinet. But what I envisage and what I've asked be prepared as a note, a first offender, this is the level of fine and sentence that you're liable to. Second time we catch you with an illegal firearm and you're charged with an illegal firearm, I would like it to go up substantially. The third time, third striking you out, again, higher again.
Brazilian police have arrested suspects in the murder of social leader Dilma Silva. Authorities say landowner Fernando Ferreira Rosa Filho was the mastermind behind Silva's murder last Friday. She was a coordinator for the movement of people affected by dams. Her husband and a family friend were also assassinated. Police say the three victims were gagged, tied, and stabbed. The alleged perpetrators have been identified as four brothers: Marlos Alves, Cosme Francisco Alves, Alan Alves, and Glaucimar Francisco Alves. And also in Brazil, mining company Vale has raised alert levels near 3 dams due to a rupture risk. According to Brasil de Fato, the problems were identified by National Mining Agency. 2 of the dams are the city of Ouro Preto, and one is now in Nova Lima. In January, Vale's dam in Minas Gerais ruptured, killing hundreds. That was the second deadly rupture of a Vale dam in Minas Gerais in about 3 years. Brazil's unemployment rate has increased for the second month in a row. According to official data, 12.4% of active Brazilians are jobless. That is almost a 1% higher than the previous term. The last figures from the Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics said more than 13 million people do not have a job in the country. We'll be back very soon. Stay with us. Welcome back. Unprecedented floods have hit Iran, causing at least 44 deaths and forcing evacuations. According to officials, several villages near rivers and dams in different provinces have been evacuated. Thousands of people are displaced, while others are in emergency shelters provided by the government. The president has promised compensation for all financial losses and called for the armed forces to help in flooded areas. Last year, at least 30 people were killed in flash floods in the eastern part of neighboring Azerbaijan. A lawsuit has been filed against the Boeing company in a U.S. federal court by a family of a Rwandan man that died in the Ethiopian plane crash. The relatives of Jackson Musoni allege that the Boeing 737 MAX had a design flaw in its automated flight control system. They say this caused the crash in which 157 people died earlier this month. Boeing is yet to respond to the action. On Wednesday, Boeing announced a fix to the control system linked to 2 plane crashes, while investigators are yet to determine the cause of the accidents. Burundi's Communication Council has revoked the BBC's right to broadcast in the country and forbidden local journalists to provide information to the British company. Authorities said the BBC broadcasted a documentary last year, which was a lie, violating media laws. The documentary was about killings by security forces in a secret house in the capital, Bujumbura.
The Assembly has deliberated and approved at its March 29 session that the operating license of the British Broadcasting Corporation radio station is withdrawn. It is strictly forbidden for any journalist, Burundian or any other nationality, on the national territory to provide information, directly or indirectly, that can be broadcast by the BBC.
In Germany, around 25,000 students went on strike on Friday, calling for action on climate change. The students skipped classes and were joined in Berlin by Swedish teen activist Greta Thunberg. Since December, teenagers across Germany have been marching weekly instead of attending school.
The older generations have failed tackling the biggest crisis humanity has ever faced. When we say to them that we are worried about the future of our civilization, they just pat on our heads saying everything will be fine, don't worry.
We are demonstrating, for example, to stop seeing plastic in the oceans. This is our common future, and we want to be able to live in the best conditions.
For a third time, the British House of Commons has voted down Theresa May's deal to withdraw from the European Union. Members of Parliament rejected the agreement by a majority of 58. That is less than in the 2 previous votes, but still a huge defeat for the Prime Minister. The Brexit process has now entered another period of huge uncertainty.
286, the noes to the left.
Theresa May had offered to resign if her deal was approved. After the defeat, opposition parties called for her immediate resignation. She said Britain now faced either an exit from the EU without a deal on April 12th or a prolonged delay and possibly no Brexit at all.
Mr. Speaker, I fear we are reaching the limits of this process in this House. This House has rejected no deal. It has rejected no Brexit. On Wednesday, it rejected all the variations of the deal on the table. And today, it has rejected approving the withdrawal agreement alone and continuing a process on the future. This government will continue to press the case for the orderly Brexit that the result of the referendum demands.
Mr. Speaker, the House has been clear. This deal now has to change. There has to be an alternative found. And if the Prime Minister can't accept that, then she must go, not at an indeterminate date in the future, but now, so that we can decide the future of this country through a general election.
French film icon Agnes Varda has passed away at the age of 90. The Belgian-born director died at her home in Paris on Friday. A pioneer of the French New Wave during the 50s and 60s, the prolific director was active for many decades, her films always adapting to the times. In 2017, she received an honorary Academy Award for her many contributions to the world of film. Known for feminist masterpieces like Cleo from 5 to 7 and One Sings, the Other Doesn't, Varda was one of the last surviving giants of French cinema.
I'm not interested as being a woman director. I'm interested in making a radical film. And I was glad to be a woman. I've been always proud, but my aim was to make a film different and to open doors and to spread, to get out of the story. Well, I have to prepare myself to say goodbye and to go away. It's fine, it's just slowing down to get the peace, necessary peace.
And with that story, we've come to the end of this news brief. These and other stories, as always, find them on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also join us on social media. We're on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram. For Telesur English, I am Estefania Bravo. Thank you for watching.